Hi everybody, it's crazy, it's Monday, and it's time for the FBGE video of the week. Now before I get started, gotta give a shout out to my trusted because you guys rock, to my crazy fam, I love you guys. Now we're up to episode number 127, and last week we left off, let me see if I can get this right, okay, position, local position, and world position on page 57 of the Game Engine book. If you don't have the book, look in the description, it's right there, and also don't forget the files. Get the files, they help. Okay, so we also left off with the joystick, which is the same one. If you have a joystick controller, hey, you can tinker around with it and see what your buttons are. You can assign buttons, so on and so forth. It's kind of neat. Check it out. All right, so nope, I did 5. It's supposed to be the wrong one. Oh, I usually put it on that one so you don't have to see that white screen blinding you. Yeah. All right, so position is a vector, x, y, and z, with the location of the object in the scene. We can get the absolute position, or world position, or the position relative to the parent of the object, local position. Okay? And what about accessing the position variable directly? This is depreciated, but you may run into it in old files you find online. If you access the position variable directly, you get the world position on reading and set the local position on writing. Confusing? That is why this is depreciated. Okay, orientation, local orientation, and world orientation. This variable gives you access to a matrix 3x3 with the orientation of the object. The orientation matrix is the result of the rotation transformation of an object and the influence of its parent object. As with position, the orientation variable will give you the world orientation on reading and set the local orientation on writing. As with position, you should always specify whether you want the local or world orientation. Visible. We have different ways to set the visibility of an object. If your material is not set to visible in the game panel, you can use this method. To change the variable recursively, to the children of the object, you must use the method setVisibility. Okay? So if you don't have it set as invisible, okay, in the game panel, then you can use the method to set visibility. Okay, that's what they're trying to say. Sensors, controllers, and actuators. All the logic breaks of an object can be accessed through those dictionaries. The name of the sensor, controller, and or actuator will be used as a directory key. For it's important to name them correctly. So in other words, if you have a sensor and you just have it as an always sensor and you have 5 always sensors, you should name it, to make sure that this is always sensor number 1, always sensor number 2, always sensor number 3. Okay? Same thing with controllers. You really don't have to have that, because it's just an AND controller, and you're not really going to access a controller. You're more than likely to access the actuator, and you want to make sure every time you change the name of your actuator, because if not, it does .001, .002, so on and so forth. You don't want to have that in your Python list as 001.002. Okay, you want to make sure it says green cube or red cube, for example. Okay. All right, see, subclass KX camera. Yeah, we can do that one today. Yeah, we're going to go ahead and do that. I still got, I'm only at 4 minutes. So we're going to go ahead and do that. All right, so not all objects have access to the same methods and variables. For example, an empty object does not have mass, and a static object does not have torque. Okay, so you can't change the mass on an empty. You can't change the torque on a static object because a static object doesn't move. Okay, and if you want to know what static objects are, look in physics. If it says static, okay, that means it's unmovable from this point. It will not move. It cannot move ever. All right, the only way you can get it to move is if you physically pick it up and move it somewhere. Okay, all right, so when the object is a camera, the difference is even more distinct. The camera object has its own class derived from KX_GameObject. It inherits all the instance variables and methods and expands it with its own. You will find some screen space functions: get screen position, get screen vector, get screen ray. Okay, some Fulstrum methods, such as sphere inside Fulstrum, box inside Fulstrum, point inside Fulstrum, and some instance variables like lens, near, far, Fulstrum culling, world to camera, camera to world. Okay, so that's a subclass. Okay, KX_camera, which uses the KX_GameObject plus its own. Okay, all right. So the subclass KX_lamp. Like cameras, lamps also have their own subclass. It inherits all the instance variables and methods and only expands the available variables. Okay, the parameters that can be changed with Python include all that can be animated with the action actuator: energy, color, distance, attenuation, spot size, and spot blend. Okay. Additionally, you can change the lamp layer in runtime. So, hey, that's a pretty good one. Now, this is going to be a kind of short video today because we're going to go into bge.render next week. Let's see. No, we could probably do a little bit of that, and we can do window and mouse next week. So, let's go ahead and do bge.render. Okay. If we compare gaming with traditional 3D artwork, raster would be the rendering phase of the process. So if you ever see the raster up in the very top corner of a game, okay, that's its render process. Okay, that's the process that it uses. Okay, internally, it's when all the geometry is finally drawn to the screen with the light calculation, the filters applied, and the canvas set. Okay, so the rasterizer actually puts everything in up on the screen for you. All the lighting, all the filters, everything is put up on there, including the canvas. Your canvas is your window. This little, outline here, which is the camera, that's actually considered a canvas. In a lot of 2D 2D gaming, when people built games in 2D, that's your screen. Your window is your screen. What you see is, is considered your canvas. Okay. For this reason, the rasterizer module presents functions related to the stereoscope, Windows and mouse management, world settings, and global GLSL material settings. Okay, so what it's talking about is window and mouse. Okay, get window width, and then of course your brackets / get window height and your brackets, which means it's going to get the width and height of the window in pixels. So from this point to this point, and from this point to this point, and I actually can do from the bottom if you'd like, it doesn't matter which way, but it gets the length, okay, and the width. Okay, width and height, width and height, there we go. Okay, and it gets it in pixels, each pixel. So if you have a 17 by 480, whatever size your screen is, and you make it that size, that's what you're going to have to put into those two brackets. All right, get the width, height of a window in pixels. Okay, show mouse visible. Okay, enable or disable the operating system mouse cursor. In other words, in the game, if you ever notice, you can put a mouse in. Okay, you can actually use Python to put that in instead of putting it over here under, I believe it's the render. One of them shows you where it says show mouse. Yeah, right there. Okay, underneath display, right there. No, I'm sorry, I'm like hiding it. Let me move me out of the way for just a minute. Okay, so right here, okay, you'll see it says mouse cursor underneath display. All right, you click that on, and in the game, it will show your mouse cursor. Your mouse cursor will not be able to go out of the window, unfortunately. So you'll have to write something else to make that work. Let me put me back over. Boop. All right, so enable or disable the operating system mouse cursor. All right, set mouse position XY. Okay, if you set mouse position, you can actually have it set a certain spot in your game. Like, say if you wanted it to be right here at this corner when you first started up, you would put in set mouse position XY, which would be 0, 0. Okay? World settings. Set background color RGBA. Red, green, blue, alpha. Remember that? Yeah, we did that a little bit a while ago. Set ambient color RGB because there's no alpha in ambient. Okay, so you got red, green, blue. Set the ambient and background color. That's what that does. Okay, you set the background and ambient colors for those. Set mist color RGB. Disable mist. Set mist start, start, and set mist end, end. Configure the mist fog settings. In other words, you also have that in here to set your mist. Okay, so in your, I believe it's one of these two. One of these, you can actually go down and it says mist, but I don't remember where. I think it's here. Yeah, you can set mist and you can set all that information right here. Okay, but okay, you can also do that in Python to where you don't even have to mess with this. You can leave this off and do it in Python. Just write out the code. You can write, set mist color to blue. Here you can't set the mist color. You only can set if it's linear, quadratic, or inverse quadratic. Say that 5 times fast. You can set how long, its depth, the starting point and its depth point where it ends, okay, and the maximum intensity of how thick is it. Okay, you can disable mist. You can set mist start and you can set mist end. Okay, you can do these two right here. Okay, and you can actually set its color. Interesting, huh? All right, so configure the mist fog settings. Okay, stereo settings. How far along? Oh, we're at 11 minutes. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, we ended with mist. Okay, next time we're going to do, next week we're going to go ahead and do the stereo settings. Okay, so it'll be kind of fun to play with, and then we'll get into materials and others and all kinds of fun stuff. Okay, so we're going to leave off with stereo settings, which is page 59. And let me switch back here. Okay, so that way, that's driving me crazy. Okay, so I'm going to put it back up here real quick. Right here, at stereo. Okay, this guy right here is what we're going to do for next week. Okay, so page 59, next week, stereo settings. See you then.